what the process, how it happens. So that made it a bit difficult. And but one interesting thing is that I left science, not science, biology in class 10. After class 10, I never studied biology. So DNA, RNA, and all of that, cell and nucleus and all that is as alien to all of you as it is to me. Perhaps you know much better than I do. So that way, it will be very helpful for us to interact because perhaps you will be able to throw more light on DNA and science and all of that than I do because my knowledge is very limited in that area. So with that caveat, I will start the session. I'll share my screen with all of you. Yeah, here it is. So very interesting topic, and it has been long in my mind to share this incredible wisdom with all of you. How our DNA, our own DNA, which is in charge of encoding information and patterns, protein patterns in our body, how they can be re-encoded to change certain patterns which we think are adversely impacting our physical, mental, spiritual, emotional body. So that is the topic to today. You see a quote there from Erwin Laszlo. Erwin Laszlo is perhaps one of the living legends in the area of the intersection between science and spirituality. So I also request in this context everybody to search for Erwin Laszlo and study more. He has innumerable books. It's difficult to understand. One read will not help you to understand everything. But let me tell you, if there is something on earth called wisdom, it is there. I mean, enormous wisdom there. And it is, of course, not easy to understand. Okay, so with that, I start. I start in a very small way about, and all of us have left biology long time back. So I thought just to brush up a bit and then come to the point of discussion. So cells actually form our physical body, all of our physical body. Each cell has a nucleus somewhere in the cell. Nucleus has various components. There is something called nuclear lamina. There is nucleolus inside the nucleus. There's something called nucleoplasm. If you remember those terms, there's nucleoplasm in the nucleus. And of course, there are chromosomes in the nucleus also. So I would like to focus only on the chromosomes of the nucleus. Okay. And what are chromosomes? Chromosomes are actually patterns that carry the DNA of our very basic nature, who we are. And what is DNA? DNA is mostly the building blocks or the structures that create human patterns, behaviors, everything. We'll discuss all that in much more details. And within DNA, again, you will have this genes inside the DNA, which carry specific codes of protein structures inside. Okay, so with that, we start the discussion. And chromosomes are nothing but some long strands of DNA. As you see, there are total of 23 pairs of chromosomes in a body. Okay, a full form of DNA. None of this you need to really remember as such, because I'm not going to take a quiz at the end of the session. So don't worry. It is just for knowledge, and whatever I'm saying, I have prayed to the divine that it will be stored in your subconscious mind. So somewhere deep inside, whatever we are discussing now will be stored inside. So full form of DNA, we have studied in class 8, 9, 7, I don't know when, but we all studied it is ribonucleic acid. Sorry, deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA, and RNA is ribonucleic acid. I'm sure all of you have studied that. Structure of a DNA, as you see that in the picture just on the right hand side, there are some nucleotides. What are the nucleotides? Nucleotides are the pillars, the spiral pillars that you see. Those are called nucleotides, and they are composed of superphosphate backbone, superphosphate composition, and these nucleotides are bonded with something called base pairs. As you see in the diagram there are some base pairs, and there's a pattern in which the base pairs are structured. Okay, the pattern is either they will be a combination of adenine and thymine, or it will be guanine and cytosine. Okay, so either cytosine guanine or it is adenine thymine. It cannot be a combination of adenine and guanine. That cannot happen. So there are specific pattern. A will go with T and G will go with C. That is the pattern. And the ladders that you see, the ladder-like spiral ladder-like structure, it is also called the double helix. Okay, so what is DNA? Again, we will go back and we will discuss this in detail a bit later in the later slides. But overall, what we understand from DNA is it contains information. It contains information, and information is, of course, invisible. So, what do we mean by information in this case, in a scientific or in biological terms? What it means is it helps in protein synthesis, protein decomposition, that helps our bodies, or is responsible for our bodies growth, development, health, and all of that, the physical part of the body. But a lot of it is not physical, which we will discuss in the subsequent slides. So here we go. So a major part of DNA is non-physical. Till date, scientists have discovered that only 5% of the DNA is physical, which is understandable, how it functions, what it does, and so on. But approximately 95 to 98% of the DNA is totally unknown. Totally unknown. How it functions, what it does, it is unknown. Unknown, when I say it is unknown from the sense of scientific evidence. That is, what is science? Something that can be touched and felt, so or seen in open eyes by anybody. So that is not there. So approximately, so it depends from animal to animal, living beings to living beings. For some living beings, it's up to 98%, which is unknown, or no, intangible, cannot be seen, cannot be felt anywhere. But it can be mostly in most animals, including human beings, it is 95%, which is kind of unknown, and we call it the non-physical part. And I will also use a term called non-local. Non-local is a very used term in the science of spirituality that we are talking about. Though in English language, there's no word called non-local, but we will use the words local and non-local to explain. Local implies which is within the body, which can be perceived, seen, and felt. Non-local is which is outside, which cannot be perceived, seen, or felt. Okay. So largely speaking, what do DNA do? DNA tells us who we are, what we manifest as human beings. How do we manifest what we manifest? And how do we respond to information? So every person has a different way to respond to information. For some people, some information doesn't matter at all, and the same information for somebody else could be life and death. For example, if there is a huge fall in Adani stocks, Garib schoolmasters like us have nothing to do with it, because we don't have anything invested in stocks, in the stock market. For somebody, he may get a heart attack. He or she may have a heart attack. So information, how we process and how we respond, depends from person to person based on our stakes. Okay. Now, Is it possible to activate the hidden or the dormant aspects of DNA that we are saying non-local? Is it possible? Um, Answer is perhaps yes, and that is why we are together here today to discuss how it can be activated, how it can be tapped, and you know the best part of it can be extracted for healing ourselves physically and even spiritually. So the whole purpose is if DNAs can influence our physical or emotional or mental well-being, then can they be altered? Can there be a mechanism by which we can alter the mechanism of DNA, which we call the title of the session is that re-encoding. Okay, now it is not recoding, huh? Code is like a IT code. You have coders in Infosys and TCS and all that. We are not talking about code. Encoding is something that is written, that is called encoded. Encoded means encrypted in our system. Now, what we are learning today is how to re-encode what has been already inscribed in our DNA. Can we re-encode that? That is the purpose of this session. So the purpose of re-encoding is, of course, to convert or to inscribe or to instill positive changes in our DNA. So what is the DNA code? What is the DNA code? How does it work? It's quite interesting. We all have DNAs. I mean, there is no living being without DNAs, and DNA differentiates one living being from the other. Okay. Now, when we talk about DNA just like any other part of a physical body, they are also prone to damage and mutilation and some kind of distortions over a period of time. And how do they happen, or why do they damage? How do they why this mutilation happens in DNA? The most important reason why they happen is our environment. Okay, our environment, where we live, where we survive, where we grow up. Okay, so some of it is within our control, and majority part of it is maybe beyond our control. So for example, the radiations that are there in the open air, or the pollution which is there, the chemicals which are there around us, and so on, they impact a lot. Something that we can control is negative information. Now, negative information is something very, very important, as I was telling you about the sudden drop of Adani share prices. Now, do I perceive it as a negative information or a positive information? Here, there is a very interesting turning point, which again is there in some of my later slides. But now that I'm remembering it, let me tell you, no information is information unless we add perception to it. So it is our perception that adopts, accepts, and interprets information the way we want to, the way it is applicable to us. Okay, so information as such is neither positive nor negative, but it is the way we interpret it, the way we analyze it, the way we synthesize. The synthesis of information, that is most important. So though I'm using the word negative information, there is nothing called negative information. Information is information, just like data. Data is data. There's nothing called good data, bad data. It is up to us to interpret it as good data and bad data. So large part of the environment that is within us is controllable by us, the way we interpret it. Now, suppose you are driving, suddenly a bike comes and suppose you are in front of a traffic signal, suddenly a bike comes and stands in front of you. How do you react? This is an information. What we see is also an information. How do you react to that? मनी मन में तीन चार गाली दे दे उसको, मैं पहले आया तो मेरे सामने आके खड़ा हो गया. नाउ आई कांट मूव फास्ट अनलेस यू मूव. आई विल नॉट बी एबल टू. व्हाट अ बेवकूफ आदमी. ऑल काइंड्स ऑफ नेगेटिव इंफॉर्मेशन कैन कम टू माय माइंड. But it is up to us how to interpret. We can also think maybe, and the reality in most cases is when a person comes with a bike in front, it is more out of habit. And we are brought up in a country where we are not sensitized to others' importance, others' preferences, others' choices. So he does just, it's an impulsive reaction. He brings the bike in front of your car, but doesn't mean that he wants to stop you from anything. But his action actually is that. But mentally, maybe he's not even doing that. He does it just out of impulse. So how you interpret, how you forgive, how you take things which are in front of you lightly, how you stop interpreting any information with a negative connotation. My previous dean, Dr. M.L. Shrikant, who was a visionary in himself, always used to say, he had a famous statement, put yourself in the other person's shoes. Always he used to say this. I don't know to what extent he did himself, but he used to say this all the time. Put yourself in the other person's perspective, other person's shoes. Yeah, all anger will come down. All negative information will get converted to positive information. So, how do it happen? So, this negative information, whenever there's a negative information, it impacts our DNA bit by bit by bit. And that causes destruction and damage in our DNA. As I said, it is not just information, it is also physical ailment. When you're physically, unwell for a very long time, it impacts your DNA. It is a kind of wrong information as per body interpretation that leads to a wrong methodology of protein synthesis, leading to diseases. More diseases make us weaker, thereby making us prone to even further more diseases, because we are then more susceptible to diseases. So as we grow older and older, the whole volume of unrepaired DNA keeps on increasing. And as we move towards old age, health hazards are more because more and more of our DNA have been damaged. Is there a way to rectify the structure? That is what we will discuss. How it is done and what it is done. What is the basic understanding there is the whole thing there. Now, it is possible to provide or replace negative information in the DNA with positive information. It is possible to alter our genetic sequence in our DNA. This whole process so there is a DNA memory, which we will discuss in the next slide, I think, which is the reservoir of information. Well, it is not exactly the DNA. There are more things which we will discuss right now. That gives instructions to the biological processes of the body. So if we can impact the memory of the DNA and communicate the instructions to our physical body, we have been able to re-encode our DNA structure. So that is what we are talking about. So this is something I think I already discussed with you, that many a times we say that, oh my God, oh, you are also suffering from diabetes. It is in your blood. It is your genes. Okay. But recent research says that not more than 4.5% of the diseases that human beings attract are genetic. They are not genetic. Mostly they are phenotype, they are based on environmental factors that alter the genetic codes in our body. But do we keep on passing on to our next generations? Answer is no. There are deeper roots there. There is ancestral karma there. Lot of information is there which actually impacts. It is not the physical gene of the DNA that transfers a disease from one generation to the other. No, that is not the case. But of course, as I've written there, you can see the phenotype factors or the environmental factors, our lifestyle, diet, work, thoughts, emotions, toxicity, immunity, how much we are protected, all these things can impact what we call as illness. Okay. This is again, maybe this slide should have come earlier, but anyway, nevertheless, it is all okay. So it also says that all cells are not the same. There are different cells in the body. They have different functions and different responsibilities within the body. Okay. And all cells also, two genes are not the same. They're different. So not all genes are performing the same function in the body. Their potential is also very, very different. Okay. And of course, as you know, in the bone marrow of specific bones, there is something called stem cells. These cells actually develop or generate new cells which can work in the body for a specific purpose using some genetic codes and information. So there are treatments, both medical and non-medical treatments that can change the codes that the stem cells carries and implant in the body to heal people. This is something that we were discussing quite some time. I mean, we have been discussing about 95% of the DNA that is that we don't know what they are doing, what their purpose is, and how they are functioning within the system and so on. So this part of the DNA, this 95% of the DNA that we're talking about is called junk DNA. And since decades, scientists have been saying that, oh my God, you know what? Only 5% of the DNA is meaningful. Rest 95 is bakwas. Doesn't make any sense. So they called it junk DNA. However, today our session and our main discussion point is what is there in the junk DNA. And this is like really, really interesting to know and understand. So the junk DNA is actually nothing but it is a non-physical, non-local storage area. What does that mean? It is just like your cloud storage. You are having a Google account, and within your Google account, you may be having 15 GB data. Can you see that data in your laptop anywhere visible there? It is not visible there. It is in the cloud somewhere. Apple invented this whole term called cloud. It is in the cloud somewhere. So this is something similar. Okay. So there is a non-physical storage area from which DNA actually tries to retrieve information. And that is how, after retrieving the information, it instructs the body, behave this way, behave that way, don't do this, don't do that. If this information is coming, this is the way you should react. Every person is different. We react to situations differently. That is information coming to us. Okay. So this junk DNA, that is 95%, which is of non-coding data, or you can say that it's kind of a non-physical storage area that we are talking about, will be the topic of discussion and will be actually pointing out or helping us to understand what DNA healing is all about. This will require me to use a few terms and few concepts which you may wish to ignore also, but I'll quickly go through that for you to understand things a bit in a better way. So, if I start with field, all of you are used to, I mean, I'm sure mostly 100% of who are there in this session today know what is an energy field. Okay. Energy field is nothing but a medium, a matrix. So each person has his own energy field. And what is the beauty of this energy field? Does it occupy any space? Yes and no. There are people who can see your aura, the color of your aura, the color of your energy, where it is deeper, denser, where it is relaxed, smooth. Is the color pinkish? Is it yellowish? Sometimes reddish? So a field or an energy field is nothing but a medium or a matrix that connects several points in space. It's all in the space. And what is the form in which they exist? They exist, quantum physics says, it exists in the form of waves. And these waves can be anything like, say, electric waves, it could be magnetic waves, it could be sound waves, it could be light waves, it could be gravity, it could be electromagnetic waves also. But the whole point of this energy field or field is to influence the physical and the mental well-being of a person. It influences our chakras, our meridians. Through energy exchange. Okay, so that is what field is, and there is another very interesting term. I was really fascinated when I first heard it. It is called, anti-space, space and anti-space. Now, space is nothing unless, suppose my hand is here. If I touch it here, it has occupied a space. I say it has occupied a space. But around my hand, there are energy fields. It doesn't occupy any space. But within that space, something else can also come and occupy that space. So a space which is empty, creating another space where two things can exist simultaneously. So energy or information is stored in something we call anti-space. So our field and our energy, which is there all around us, is actually termed as anti-space, because it cannot physically occupy any space. So scientists name that as anti-space. Okay, so it's very good reading. I think there's a famous author by the name Cindy Dale, CYNDI, Cindy Dale, who talks about something called, she has a book called Subtle Body. You can try that book. Excellent book. It talks about space and anti-space and how energy and energy acts as a medium of exchange and occupies space and anti-space. Excellent book. You can try it. Okay. Next is quantum field. Quantum field is nothing but, again, it's a form of energy exchange, and it gets redistributed as in a very dynamic pattern, and it's a constant process of reinventing information, processing and changing and exchanging also. Okay, so what is quantum field consisting of? Again, as I said, just like energy fields, it is waves of information, and waves are formed by small particles. These waves are formed of very small particles. This is all quantum physics. If you have done it, you all know it. So waves are formed of very small particles, and there is a way we define these particles. These particles are not very different than emptiness. So these particles, in other sense, are so small that they are close to emptiness. Okay, so they actually, which means that you cannot separate one particle from the other, because each of them together form nothing but emptiness. But they form patterns and waves in which they travel. Okay, there is a scientist whose name is Rupert Sheldrake. Rupert Sheldrake introduced a term called morphic fields. You don't need to know all of this. I'm just making some terms here because sometimes we discuss about all these points. So you may suddenly recollect, oh, there's something called a morphic field. Morphic field and quantum field is not very much different. Only thing is that a morphic field focuses more on information and not energy. But actually, energy is a form of information, and information is a form of energy. So here we are talking about non-physical information. That is what the morphic field is. Again, it is energy exchange, and it says that any change or any exchange of energy can be instantaneous. Within a fraction of a second, it can happen, irrespective of distance and space. Okay. One thing which is very interesting here is morphic resonance or quantum resonance. You can also call it quantum resonance, which means that there is always an exchange and interaction of energy fields. Right now that we are talking, it is an intersection of energy fields. When I'm saying it is not my voice and sound, yes, sound has quantum energy fields, but it is the exchange and the interaction that is happening between you and me. So I'm passing on information and inputs in the form of sound waves. Is it hitting only your eyes, only your ears, only your brain? No. It is hitting your energy, quantum energy field, and it is impacting there. And when I said that right in the beginning, I said that when I have this session, it will be all stored in your subconscious mind. I mentioned nothing but your quantum energy field. It will be stored there. Quantum field, again, a bit more on quantum field. Here, I would like to touch on Akashic fields, Akashic records. Akashic records are even broader and wider than our quantum fields, because as Indians, we all know what is Akashic records and all that. We have all read about Chitragupt ki Khata and all of that, where everything is documented, everything is written. So that is the Akashic field that we often talk about. It's nothing but the type and nature of information that's stored in quantum fields. But Akashic record is very, very individualistic, because every person has his or her own Akashic records stored in the form of quantum fields. So if you read the second point that I have mentioned there, it is an informed field. What is the meaning of that? Informed, as you see, informed is a past tense. Here, past tense because it is all stored. It is information. It is not a live update of information. It's stored. It's past. It is stored somewhere, and it is nothing but divine intelligence also, because we all have been taking hundreds and hundreds of births, and if you collate all of that, all of our previous births, it merges with divine intelligence, divine wisdom. So Akashic field, Akashic records is nothing but divine wisdom, divine intelligence. DNA, the junk DNA, can be a net receiver of quantum information from Akashic fields and influence the physical body in the form of biological responses. So, put in very simple words, we, with the help of our DNA, can access our Akashic records, Akashic field, to process quantum energy and incorporate changes in our DNA, physical DNA, to manifest in physical changes in the ailments that we are going through. If you see here, there's a term called mutual entanglement. So it is nothing but information that is constantly, continuously, and effectively being transmitted throughout the quantum world, independent of, totally independent of space, time, anything. Nothing can actually restrict it. That is how many times we can respond to information instantaneously without any gap, because we are entangled in this quantum energy field, energy world. Again, I would go back to Arvind Laszlo, but before that, I'll come to quantum hologram. Hologram is an excellent concept. Hologram is nothing but a recorded pattern. Okay, it's encrypted and encoded information where the energy fields interact. Now, when we say energy fields, it is your energy field with the divine energy field or the quantum energy field. Okay. It carries vast amount of information. And the beauty of a hologram is every bit of information is totality on its own. Okay. So every particle of the information represents the entire vast information, and the entire vast information is captured in a small particle of information. Very, very, um, you know, it's a uh, divine wisdom, but we can understand it in a very, very simple example, in the form of a very simple example. But before that, I want to mention 2 points here. Arvind Laszlo has a particular statement. I am part of the cosmos, and the cosmos is part of me. I am the cosmos. How can I be the cosmos? He also says in another book, he says, as above, so below, as without, so within. It is going slightly esoteric. So let me just take a small example. Now, let us assume that your son is playing A daughter is playing and suddenly stumbles and falls on the ground. Okay. So this is an information. The question is, will all of us, as parent, as uncle, as aunt, as whatever, react to this situation in the same way? No. So, suppose this incident happened and you make a statement, oh my God, kya hua beta? Oh my God, kya hua beta? Okay. One statement comes from where? Comes from you. But that single statement also talks about you. So you are the statement and the statement is you. We can understand what kind of a person you are by listening to or hearing to that single statement. Do somebody interpret completely? Perhaps not. But this is a very crude example of explaining as above, so below, as without, so within. And that is the quantum hologram. Every particle represents the whole vastness of information, and the whole vastness of information is captured by every single particle. And what is a particle? Particle is close to emptiness. Such a small thing. It is smaller than the atom, smaller than the proton. Now we come to a point called consciousness. All of you are aware of consciousness. As Indians, we talk about consciousness quite a bit. Mindfulness and consciousness and all of that. It's quite a very interesting topic to most of us. But according to this wisdom, it says, if you are interpreting quantum energy, quantum information, if you are interpreting the quantum hologram in physical form, it is consciousness. So, in simple words, how the external energy field is manifesting in the physical form, it's consciousness. Again, it leads to another concept which we discussed some time back. It is the observer effect. What is observer effect? Just now we discussed. Nothing exists as a thing without our perception. So whatever exists in this universe, all around us that we see, feel, and talk about is meaningless, is impactless, if we don't weave our perception with it. So everything depends on the way we perceive, we interpret, we analyze. So here comes consciousness. Consciousness is back to the body now, the physical body. Brain manifests consciousness. It's a local field of experience. It's a local field of awareness. So the quantum hologram, the part of the quantum hologram that is captured by the brain and manifests in terms of our perceptions in the physical form is consciousness. So negative dysfunctional thoughts, negative emotions are all incorrectly interpreted in quantum information. It all translates to the consequences of our physical body. Information about Adani share price drop. It doesn't have a physical form. It is an information leading to heart attack of somebody. Total physical impact. And information leading to a physical impact. Stress can lead to high BP, high blood pressure. Stress, excessive stress or tension can lead to obesity, physical impact. How? Through consciousness. So it is possible for all of us to tune in our consciousness and to use quantum hologram, quantum information, quantum energy, and also our Akashic fields to bring changes in us. That is the main point of discussion that we have. So it is important to know the disease that lies beneath the surface. Communication between the quantum energy, quantum information with our biological DNA, the 5% that we were talking about. Consciousness can act as the medium of exchange of energy from the non-local field to the local field. So as we were discussing, everything, processing of information. Processing of information has a deep connect with intentions. Every intention that we have has a frequency. Suppose if my deep intention is to help people grow, if is to help people manifest, it will pass on a positive frequency to all of you. On the other hand, if my intention is always to pull people back, pull people down, my aura will capture it, negative vibration. You will often see there are people around you. You will feel like, bhai, this person comes with a lot of negativity. It's better I would avoid. I don't want to be there in that field. Now, how do we do it? We pray. Many times you may be praying for so many things, ye nahi ho raha hai, wo nahi ho raha hai, and all that. But you know what? There's a process. The entire process of healing starts with something called, this is perhaps the most important thing I'm saying, DNA permission, which I'll talk later again now. Ghosh and Zellinger actually worked on this very deeply and says that you have to physically utter the words. There's a migraine here, there's a headache here. I give permission to my physical body. I give permission to my quantum hologram to change the electrical and magnetic field around me to heal the condition of headache. So consciously you have to utter these words that I am giving permission to myself to heal. I am giving permission. First, you have to give permission, because most of the illness that are there are because you gave the permission to remain unhealthy. Somewhere deep inside, maybe in some previous birth, there could be some resolution that you have taken. So now you have to open the door and say, I give permission. Then the whole intention will manifest in a different way in the form of electrical and magnetic waves, particles. But you know what? Most of the time, most difficult concepts happen in the most simplest manner. So trust, belief, and faith goes hand in hand with intention. Now, if you start believing that मेरा intention से क्या फर्क पड़ता है, जो होना है वो तो होगा, मैं बोल दूं मैं परमिशन दे रहा हूं डीएनए को और सब कुछ ठीक हो जाएगा क्या? Doubt, lack of faith, lack of belief, lack of trust. So what you have to do is, if this is there in your deep subconscious mind, you have to remember any of Amitabh Bachchan's movie. When you go to watch a movie, you see Amitabh Bachchan running behind, say, Omrish Puri. Omrish Puri jumps from 10th floor. Amitabh Bachchan also jumps from 10th floor, and both of them again start running. किसी को कुछ भी नहीं होता है. Again they are running. Amitabh Bachchan गोली मारता है, ढाओ. It hits Omrish Puri, but he's still running. Do we doubt? Do we ask? अरे यार क्या बकवास हो रहा है यहाँ पे? What this movie? It's waste of money. How many of us do say that? We don't. We don't. Why? Because we say to our mind, अगर ऐसे होता तो कैसे होता? We are enjoying the experience. अरे वाह, गोली लगा, कुछ भी नहीं हुआ, फिर भी भाग रहा है. अरे वाह, 10वें फ्लोर से जंप किया, फिर भी कुछ नहीं हुआ, फिर भी भाग रहा है. अरे वाह, क्या बात है. Which means, had this been happening, it would have been so nice. Think that way. If you're unable to influence your intentions, think that way, because there's no harm. You are just commanding your brain, your conscious mind, your consciousness for something positive. अगर कुछ नहीं हुआ, if nothing happens, you're back to square one. But if it happens, big changes can happen in your physical and mental body. So why not? Let's try. Nothing to lose, not a penny of money also to lose. So now comes a few steps on how we can do it and what we can do. Oh my God, it's already 9 o'clock. So imagination plays a very important role in this whole process. There are two sound and breath techniques which are very important for quantum healing or DNA healing. There are a few more steps which are there, which I'll come later on. And these all try to connect to the divine quantum hologram directly. Okay. First is the breath process. It's called conscious breathing, or I mean, it's kind of the source is of course pranayam, but from pranayam there are a lot of changes that happens, and one of the intermediate step is called transformational breathing. Also, you can search on internet on transformational breathing, but this what we are discussing is called conscious breathing. And the person who first conceptualized the concept of conscious breathing. Her name is Althea Hawk. Althea Hawk. She first conceived this idea of conscious breathing, and she writes the whole thing in the form of divine intervention. That it's not. She claims that it is not her; it is divine that passed on the information to her on how to do it. But anyway, they here she talks about six chakras, and it is the exercise is you have to either lie down on your back, head held slightly high, the 30 degrees angle with pillows. You can lie down, or if it's not possible to lie down, you can sit straight also with your neck here straight. Okay, and first you have to fill your breath, and you have to feel that as you breathe in deeply, deeply, okay, not light breath, as you breathe in deeply, it it all goes to your lower belly. Okay, it all goes and stores in your lower belly. But in the process, it's a two-way inhalation. First it goes to your lower belly, and then it fills your chest. So you have to, it's all imagination, as I told you. You have to imagine just like a bucket of water. It is as you breathe in, it first goes to your lower belly, it fills your lower belly, and then it comes to your chest. You have to imagine your lungs. It is coming and you're filling your chest. And as you exhale, you can utter any of these words. U, O, A, E. Because as you exhale, oh, deep exhalation, deep exhalation. Very deep exhalation. With each of this exhalation, all negative energy that is stored in your DNA gets repaired and transformed. Before I go to the Om that you see there on the right hand side, I'll come to the Om slightly later, but let me just tell you also visualization and imagination and intention. So as you breathe in, I've showed you examples of how quantum information moves in waves. So you have to imagine that quantum information from divine, from your Akashic records are coming. As you breathe in, it enters your body through your nostrils and goes directly to your lower abdomen. And then it fills up to your lungs, to your heart. And then when you're exhaling, the charged particles stay back in your body. And the negative forces, whatever is stored in negative information, is coming out of your body. And the sound that you make will take care of the chakra. And as you know, each chakra stands for some physical part of the body also. We discussed this one in several, presentations. The word Om works differently. So as you exhale, you can either use any of these six, or you can use the word Om also. Om has a special characteristic. The word Om is pronounced Om, Om, Om. The later part of Om, you close your mouth, right? You close your mouth and the goes inside. That vibration of Om, Om, this. But when you say it is open mouth. Om is Om. when you see, make this sound of the later part of Om, your whole brain, mind, head vibrates. It helps to circulate quantum energy that you drag from the anti-space to stimulate each and every cell function. So if you want holistic repair, use Om. If you want specific repair, use any of these 6 sounds. Do you need to be very specific about the pronunciation of these syllables? No. It's mostly A, E, I, O, U. It is again the perception, the imagination, that I am healing my 5th chakra now. And as I exhale, I pronounce that. I want the 4th chakra. Information comes and hits your brain in the form of consciousness and heals the 4th chakra. Okay. So it is communication with your innate self, your deeper self. You can call upon your higher spirit, higher self, or any of spiritual entities with which you can connect with before you can do any of these practices. Again, I'm emphasizing on this point of giving permission to your innate self, which is very, very, very important. I give permission to my inner self to bring changes in the physical condition of so and so to achieve this goal, whatever it is. And you can ask to release the dysfunctional patterns and the misinformation that is stored in your DNA. We discussed about stem cells. Now you extract the blueprints and the frequency level of the perfect stem cells that can bring the changes from quantum DNA hologram. Erase the imperfect information and replace that with a new DNA blueprint, which will optimize your physical and non-physical functioning. This is so this is kind of a script that we can use for healing the inner, the cellular to touch the DNA, each and every cell of the DNA to heal yourself. So you can call upon the healing masters across all lifetimes, your higher self, your innate self, guide. And first you have to ask for assisting in your intention. After that, if you notice, you have to give permission to your innate self to make the cellular adjustments. Any wrong memory that is stored in our Akashic records, which is no longer serving me, my health, my immunity, we are now asking to change it to achieve your soul's highest purpose. And thereby wash or erase any negative information or instruction which is there, which is leading to any abnormal cellular functioning in the body. Okay. So what was there in the previous slide is actually a script mentioned in this slide. I would always suggest not to use exactly the same words. You read and read and read several times. And once you understand, you should, when you are actually doing the meditation, then you should say on your own. Even if some words here and there are not exactly the same, it doesn't mind. But reading is reading when you are trying to actually impact your own Akashic records and your own quantum hologram. It is better that you don't read from a script. The script should be there in your mind. You should utter the words. And that is when you feel it more. If you read, you don't feel because your focus is on the reading. I mean, you can feel, but it's not 100% feeling. So it's always better that you read it once, twice, 10 times. And then when you are actually doing the exercise, you just say. This is very, very deep. This is actually, I was in two minds whether to have this slide or not. But this is about accessing your Akashic records, which is, I don't know, I mean, if any of you know how to access your Akashic records, then maybe you can use this script. But fundamentally speaking, this script is not for any one of you who don't know how to access your Akashic records. So if you can, then maybe you can talk about this being and holding and supporting first. That is, you have to ask the spirit to be with you as you cross the threshold of the divine love, and then of course you have to request to hold you with love and embrace you. Okay, I mean, as you approach your soul's Akashic records to support you and let all your troubles go away from you. Okay. And then you can always, as you read it, you can always say, I, so and so, stand ready for whatever is for me now. As the Akashic records open up, then you can access the information stored in your soul's quantum hologram to rectify your DNA wherever it is necessary in the body, which manifests in the form of your consciousness, to change the condition of whatever you are going through. Never ever say my migraine, my pain, and all that. Pain is not yours, migraine is not yours, disorders are not yours. They have come as misinformation. So you have to always heal for the condition of something in my body. Okay. And last but not the least, you have to thank the masters and the teachers for sharing the information and the guidance. Okay. And this is the crux of everything. Practice, practice, and practice. Thank you very much. It was quite a session for me too, because since long I was planning to take this session, but to put all the slides together was a challenge for me, because I myself understand the process, but the deeper process of how DNA functions in biology and all that, I was not very much comfortable with it. So today, at least I could discuss a few things with you. Thank you very much for patiently listening. I'm now open for questions.